She couldn't force people to write the stories that she wanted them to write. So therefore, she left to get privacy so that she could write the stories in her own perspective.
The narrative Meghan Markle spent a decade meticulously crafting hasn't just hit a snag, it just hit an absolute iceberg. Forget the blurry, pixelated photos and recycled tabloids of the past. We are witnessing a digital execution of a carefully built persona. In a world where discretion is the ultimate currency, the encrypted vaults of the global elite have just been forced open, spilling a flood of high-definition images that are as undeniable as they are devastating. The atmosphere is thick with a sense of urgent, nail-biting suspense as these crystal-clear shots place Meghan exactly where she claims she never was. Deep within the inner sanctum of Monaco's most exclusive super yachts between 2010 and 2012. You can almost feel the triumphant roar of the internet sleuths who were silenced for years because these aren't just vacation snaps, they are metadata-stamped receipts leaked directly from the private drives of Gulf state royalty. This is the ultimate betrayal from inside the house, proving that while she was auditioning for TV roles, she was already playing a much higher stakes game on the Mediterranean. The curtain is being ripped back with such violent precision that her PR team's usual defenses have been rendered utterly useless. But as the world stares at these high-res images of a lifestyle she supposedly couldn't afford, a terrifying realization begins to dawn. If these images were the warning shot, you won't believe the business transaction that was actually happening behind those closed cabin doors. Let's stop pretending that a basic cable salary pays for a billionaire's playground, because the math on Meghan Markle's pre-royal life is officially broken. We are being asked to believe that a struggling actress, someone driving a beat-up car and hustling for auditions, was somehow able to bankroll a lifestyle that burns through hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single weekend. It's not just a contradiction. It is an insult to the intelligence of anyone who can use a calculator. Between 2010 and 2012, Meghan was a briefcase girl and a secondary actress on a show filmed in the budget-friendly streets of Toronto. Yet, the newly leaked high-res metadata places her in the front row of the Monaco Grand Prix and sipping vintage champagne on the decks of super yachts that cost millions just to fuel for a week. The stench of hypocrisy and contempt here is overwhelming. You don't get invited into the inner sanctum of the world's most powerful oligarchs because you're a talented actress nobody has heard of yet. In the cold, transactional world of the global elite, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and there is certainly no such thing as a free yacht charter. While she was selling Oprah a fairy tale of the scrappy dreamer, she was allegedly being subsidized by the very shadow networks she now claims to despise. Who was paying the entry fees? Who was covering the private jets and the five-figure wardrobe? The math doesn't add up because it was never meant to be seen. It screams of a professional networking circuit where access is bought and sold. And Meghan wasn't just a guest, she was a fixture. This isn't about luck. It's about a calculated, high-end social transaction that makes her independent feminist brand look like a cheap Hollywood script. The world is finally seeing the receipts, and the reality is far darker than a simple party lifestyle. Because if she wasn't paying for the seat at the table, then she was part of the menu. And if you think the financial lies are bad, wait until you see exactly who was signing those checks, because the names on the manifest are about to drag this story from the Mediterranean straight into the dark heart of international power politics. Asterisk, asterisk. The naive Hollywood girl next door didn't just stumble into the British royal family. She was professionally engineered for it in the most exclusive boardrooms of the Mediterranean. While the mainstream media peddled a story of a chance meeting over a drink, these leaked photos reveal a much more cynical reality. Meghan Markle wasn't just a guest in these circles, she was a high-stakes trainee. We are talking about the kind of closed-door networking that requires more than just a pretty face. It requires a specific, cold-blooded etiquette that you don't learn in a Toronto acting studio. The mockery here lies in the facilitation. Look closely at the background of these high-res shots. This wasn't a random vacation. It was a curated assembly line of ambition. This brings us back to the shadowy architects of her rise, like Marcus Anderson and the strategically placed hunting grounds of Soho House. These aren't just social clubs. They are high-end clearinghouses where the ambitious are vetted and introduced to the untouchable. The practical truth is glaring. Meghan was a house favorite because she knew the game. She wasn't some wide-eyed ingenue. She was a seasoned pro who had spent years mirroring the speech, the grace, and the absolute discretion required to sit beside Saudi princes and Gulf state billionaires. It is laughably pragmatic. She learned how to speak the language of power long before she ever met a prince. This wasn't luck. It was a skill set honed through years of being a hired guest for men who represent the exact opposite of the feminist values she preaches today. She learned exactly how to make herself indispensable to powerful men. A curriculum taught not on a film set, but on the teak decks of super yachts. But here is the most delicious irony. Those same facilitators, the ones who taught her how to climb, are the ones now holding the ladder. And as the world watches her transition into a lifestyle guru, the very people she used to get to the top have decided that her time is up. Because in a world built on secrets, once you stop being useful, you become a liability. And the next leak coming out isn't just a photo. It's a transcript that will leave her truth in absolute tatters. Asterisk, asterisk. The most deafening sound in Montecito right now isn't the crashing waves of the Pacific, it is the absolute terrified silence coming from the Sussex camp. For a couple that sues newspapers over a single leaked letter and issues scorched earth statements at the slightest hint of misinformation, their total paralysis in the face of these January 2026 leaks is nothing short of a confession. The air is thick with a dark, suffocating tension because, for the first time in her life, Meghan Markle's greatest weapon, the legal system, has turned into a double-edged sword she daren't touch. The reason for this sudden, ghostly quiet is far more sinister than simple PR management. It is the legal nightmare known as discovery. If they sue, they open the floodgates. Imagine Meghan sitting in a cold, brightly lit deposition room, forced under oath to answer the questions she has spent a decade burying. A lawyer wouldn't just ask about her feelings. They would demand flight manifests, bank transfers, and the exact nature of her consultancy for Middle Eastern elites. They would ask, who paid for the 2012 suite in Monaco? And what was the specific service rendered to the billionaire on that yacht? One single lawsuit would grant the public a legal all-access pass to the very encrypted drives she thought were erased forever. There is a shadowy, predatory energy to this standoff. She is trapped in a corner of her own making, knowing that to fight back is to commit social and legal suicide. Her silence isn't a strategy, it's a hostage situation. She is banking on the news cycle to move on, but the internet has a long memory and zero mercy. The world is watching a high-stakes game of chicken where the opponent isn't a tabloid, but her own past coming to collect its debt. This isn't just a scandal anymore, it's a slow-motion collapse of a global brand, and as the lights go out in their mansion, a much more chilling question begins to emerge. If the photos were enough to paralyze them, what kind of world-ending dirt are the leakers still holding back to ensure she never speaks again? The timing of this strike isn't a coincidence, it's a precision-guided assassination of the Meghan Markle brand. This isn't just a leak. It is a masterclass in strategic destruction, executed with the kind of cold, absolute power that only her former circles possess. Just as she prepares to launch her billion-dollar lifestyle empire and rebrand herself as the wholesome American Duchess through Netflix, the invisible hand of her past has reached out to choke the narrative. The architects of this leak didn't wait until 2026 for money. They waited for the exact moment when she had the most to lose, ensuring that every dollar she spends on PR is burned at the altar of her own hypocrisy. There is an overwhelming, authoritative weight to this move. It is a message from the global establishment she tried to outrun. We made you, and we can unmake you. By flooding the internet with high-res evidence of her yachting years, right as she preaches about feminist empowerment and humanitarian grace, the leakers have created a lethal paradox. You cannot sell organic jam and authentic womanhood when the world is staring at the high-definition receipts of you serving as a decorative fixture for Gulf state oligarchs. This is an imposing, calculated takedown designed to poison her well forever, turning her new beginning into a public autopsy. The sheer dominance of this play is undeniable. They aren't just revealing her secrets, they are mocking her ambition. They are proving that the self-made Duchess is a manufactured fiction, a veneer that peels away under the harsh light of a Mediterranean sun. She thought she was the one pulling the strings, But this leak confirms she was always just a pawn in a much darker, much more powerful game. And as the foundation of her new empire crumbles into the sand, the most terrifying realization isn't what has been revealed, it's the chilling fact that the people who destroyed her are just getting started, and they've already picked the exact date for her final public surrender. The fairy tale has officially curdled into a global humiliation, leaving Prince Harry standing alone in the wreckage of a history he clearly never understood. There is a vicious, undeniable satisfaction in watching the savior realize he was actually the one being played. We have to ask, did the prince truly know the extent of the networking his wife mastered on those Mediterranean decks? Or was he just the ultimate prize in her long game transaction? It's the ultimate schadenfreude watching a man who turned his back on his own blood for a woman who was, all along, exactly what the palace warned she was. The judgment is cold and final. Prince William's concerns weren't rooted in jealousy, but in the brutal reality of a vetting process that Meghan could never pass. The high-definition ghosts of 2010 have finally caught up, proving that the royal family's suspicion was actually survival instinct. Harry didn't marry a Hollywood star. He married a woman whose training happened in the shadows of super yachts, and the look on his face as the truth breaks must be the loneliest sight in Montecito. This isn't just a marriage under strain. It's the total vindication of the British monarchy at the expense of its most rebellious son. But as the walls of their sanctuary close in, the real nightmare is just beginning, because once the prince realizes he's been the mark, the fallout won't just destroy a marriage, it will trigger a constitutional crisis that the House of Windsor has been preparing for in secret since the very first day they met. Beyond the headlines and the scandals, this story serves as a profound lesson in integrity. You can use a flawless facade to conquer the world, but only the truth allows you to keep it. In our digital age, the past is never truly buried. It is merely waiting. This serves as a reminder that building success on a foundation of secrets is a dangerous gamble, because when the truth eventually surfaces, the cost isn't just your reputation, it's your peace of mind. Live your life so that you never have to run from your own history. Thank you so much for watching and engaging with this deep dive today. If you found this analysis insightful, please hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive breakdowns.